started as a typical evening, quiet, serene, and with no sign of the nightmare that would soon unfold. The kind of night when nothing felt out of place until the call came. At first, it was just another phone buzzing on my kitchen counter, but then I glanced at the screen. No name, just a number, and as I answered, the voice on the other end sent a chill down my spine. "I see you. You should be careful. You don't know what's lurking in the shadows." My heart stopped, not because of what the voice said, but because it knew something it shouldn't. It knew exactly where I was. I'd moved to a small town about a month ago, a quiet place tucked away in the rolling hills, far from the chaos of the city. I thought I could escape the hustle, the noise, the relentless demands of a fast-paced life. But that evening, something much worse was waiting for me. I was home alone. It was a Monday night, around 10 p.m., and I'd just finished eating a simple dinner in the silence of my cozy living room. The soft hum of the refrigerator was the only sound in the apartment, a reminder of the calm, familiar life I was starting to carve out here. It had been a long day of work, and I was exhausted, ready to unwind and doze off in front of the TV. But then my phone buzzed. At first, I assumed it was just another spam call, but when I glanced at the screen, my pulse quickened. I didn't recognize the number, but there was something strange about it. The area code was from a neighboring town, nothing that would be too alarming, but what chilled me to the bone was the simple text message that followed. "I know you're alone tonight." I sat there, staring at the words, my thumb hovering over the screen. My first instinct was to dismiss it. Maybe it was just some prank, a sick joke from one of my friends, or a wrong number. But I couldn't shake the eerie feeling that crawled down my spine. The kind of sensation you get when you know something's wrong, but can't quite put your finger on it. I looked around my apartment, trying to convince myself it was nothing. The flickering light from the television bathed the room in an unnatural glow, casting long shadows across the walls. The air was still, but there was a heaviness to it, like the world outside was holding its breath. The text came again. "I know what you did." My heart pounded. What did it mean? What was this person talking about? Had I somehow pissed someone off without realizing it? I quickly locked the door and closed the blinds. The street outside was dead quiet. No cars, no people. Just the dull hum of the city sleeping. But then, the knocking started. Soft at first, gentle, almost as if the wind had knocked a branch against the window. But there was something deliberate about it, like a rhythm, as if whoever or whatever was outside wanted my attention. I stood frozen in place, my mind racing. My phone buzzed again, this time with a picture. Hesitant, I opened it, a grainy image of my front door, taken moments ago. I swallowed hard, my throat dry. Whoever this was, they were very close. Too close! The knock came again, louder this time, accompanied by a soft scraping sound, something dragging against the wood. My stomach churned. I could feel the hairs on the back of my neck stand up and my pulse raced. I cautiously moved to the window, my breath shallow, the floorboards creaking under my weight. I pulled the blinds back just enough to peer outside, half expecting to see a figure standing there. But there was nothing but the empty street. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. My phone buzzed again. "You really should lock that door." I didn't waste another second. I bolted to the door, double-checking the locks. My hands shook as I turned the deadbolt. But just as I did, a loud crash echoed from the other side of the apartment. It sounded like glass breaking. I spun around, heart pounding in my chest. What was going on? I had locked every window. There was no way someone could have gotten inside, right? I crept toward the source of the noise, the bathroom. The small, dimly lit room had always felt a little off to me, but now, The sound of something shuffling behind the door, it felt like a tomb. The door was cracked open just a fraction. As I pushed it further, my blood ran cold. The mirror was shattered. Pieces of glass were scattered across the floor, glinting like jagged teeth under the low light. And standing in the reflection was a figure, someone I didn't recognize, their face obscured by the shards of broken glass. I spun around to find the bathroom empty. No one was there, but I could hear something. A faint whisper, like the sound of wind through the trees, but much closer, much more personal. Get out. Leave now. I froze. There was no one there, no one in my apartment, but I could still hear it so real, so clear. The whispers didn't stop. I reached for my phone, desperate to call someone, anyone, but it slipped from my hands and crashed to the floor. I dropped to my knees, scrambling for it, but when I picked it up, the screen was cracked. I couldn't see anything. I looked up. The door was ajar again. I ran to the door, terrified, but when I looked outside, I saw nothing. The street was as empty as it had been earlier, and yet I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was standing just out of sight, watching me. The texts came faster now, almost on top of one another. The messages grew more disturbing. I can hear you. Don't bother looking for me. I'll always be there, just a step behind. You shouldn't have stayed. You should have left when you had the chance. My heart raced. Who was this person? What did they want from me? Suddenly, the lights flickered, plunging the apartment into darkness. The only light came from the eerie glow of my phone's cracked screen. My fingers trembled as I fumbled to turn on the flashlight, but before I could, I heard it. Footsteps, slow, deliberate, coming from the hallway outside. My breath caught in my throat as I backed into the corner, clutching the phone to my chest. There was no way anyone could have gotten inside. The door was locked, the windows were sealed. The footsteps stopped, and then the whispering began again. I'm right behind you. I turned, but the corner of the room was empty. Still, the air felt thick, as if something was lurking just beyond the edge of my vision. The hairs on the back of my neck prickled. Every sense screamed at me to run, but my legs felt like lead, frozen in place. I saw it, a shadow, moving just outside the doorway, a figure, tall, shrouded in darkness. I tried to scream, but my voice caught in my throat. My body was paralyzed, unable to move. The door creaked open. It wasn't just the figure in the doorway that terrified me. It was the fact that I had seen it before. Months ago, when I first moved in, I discovered a newspaper article in the apartment's drawer, an old clipping about a woman who had gone missing from this very building. The article didn't mention much, only that she had disappeared without a trace, her last known location being her own apartment. But now, as I watched the figure step forward, a sense of déjà vu gripped me. The same hollow eyes, the same menacing figure, standing just inches away. And then it spoke. Don't you remember me? I was here all along. A cold wave of realization crashed over me. I wasn't alone. Not in the way I thought. This place, this apartment had always been haunted, not by ghosts, but by something far worse. Something that had been waiting for someone like me to come along. I never saw a figure again after that night. The police came, but there was no trace of anyone ever having been there. No signs of a break-in. No one had entered the building. But since that night, strange things have happened. The lights flicker more often. The shadows in the corner of my vision never go away. And sometimes when I glance into the mirror, I swear I see the faintest outline of a figure standing just behind me. I still live here, though I don't know why. Maybe because I can't escape, or maybe because I've realized that whatever it was that came for me that night, it never really left. If you enjoyed this terrifying tale, make sure to check out more spine-chilling stories on my channel. Stories that will make you look over your shoulder every time you hear a creak in the floorboard or catch a glimpse of something in the corner of your eye. Stay tuned, and remember, you never know what might be lurking in the shadows.